Yeah. So, welcome to Talks by AFD. I'm Archie Francis. It's been a long time since the last time we met, probably last year, but this 2024, I believe I will be more consistent. So, there have been new developments, although I never had the time to talk about them because of my schedule, which has been very tight. But all things being equal, I'll just have to talk a little about them and add some, juicy things among them to see how we can unravel all of that mystery. So I will start with Putin when he had the conference with his citizens in Russia, Moscow to be precise, where journalists all over the world came asking him questions about his economy, about his policies, about many other things, including the war in Ukraine, and also, most importantly, also about the Oreshnik missile, the intermediate ballistic missile which he used at Dnipro in Ukraine. So he I wouldn't say jokingly, he definitely used that as an avenue to challenge the West, to challenge America, which has been the backbone of Ukraine in terms of supporting them in the war. He and NATO generally. He said that the Russian missile cannot be stopped by any Western, um, means. Whatever medium or measures they want to use, they can stop it that he dared them, or if you want to call them into a duel, that they should give it a try by bringing out all the particular equipment they have, choose a place of interest where they are going to intercept it, and then he will launch it down there, and he sees where if they will be able to counter it, that it is not counterable. That is more of a challenge, a direct challenge to the West, to America, to NATO generally, because they believe that they have the power behind them, they have the means, the everything to counter this whole thing that is going on with Russia and all of that. But that has been able to shut them down, I believe, to a point because I do not see they never responded. Putin said he's a madman, that he's not okay to, Zelensky, said that Putin is not right to have make such comments and all of that. But then it doesn't change the fact that it was a contest, a duel, which they actually backed down. They never took it into cognizance. Also, I still want to talk about the UN rating of the war leaders. The UN brought out, a list of the world worst leaders in 2024. Assad of Syria being number one, Ruto, no, is it Ruto? Kenyan president, or Ruto. Kenya president being second, and Nigerian president Tinubu being the third in their war worst performing leaders. Well, at least for the first time, Nigeria, my country, turned out to be the first. They will always want to have us believe that we are the worst in everything. But all things being equal, if I may ask a simple question, who did the rating? Under what measures were they able to use to ascertain that we are the worst? Like Nigeria, for example, Tinubu is the third worst leader in the world. Who gave them the power? Or under whose assertion, whose opinion do they think counts that much that they should be able to define which is the best and which is not? It's crazy, isn't it? Now you begin to talk about the worst leaders. Do you not remember that Zelensky should even be, if there's anything more than worse, he should be the one? A man who went against the agreement he had with Moscow just to fight a country you can't fight, putting up his own citizens into a hot spot that probably he has obliterated his military generally. Millions of Ukrainians have died in that cause. And such a man is not even in the list of the worst leaders in the world. Isn't that terrible to say? Where is Macron, the president of France, who has his military bases in Africa and used them against the will of the people, stole the resources of these countries, used them at his own personal aggrandizement for their own personal growth. The uranium in Burkina Faso go to Mali, Niger, and all of these countries, their resources became the French country or the France's resources. Such a man is not among the worst leaders in the world. Germany, all the supporters of the war in Ukraine, who under the umbrella of NATO supporting Ukraine, that has led to the killing of millions of Ukrainians. All these guys are not the worst leaders in the world. It is us in Africa probably that have the power to send their mind. Even in that same Syria, you call Assad the worst leader. Who are the people behind who orchestrated the war that led to the impeachment or the removal or the ousting of the Assad, the president of Syria? Americans not there. Are Turkey not there? Are Israel? Is the Israelis not there? I don't understand. So you can, if you don't just wake up one morning, make decisions on your own that you think that this is it, and the world will just take it without anybody looking into it. That's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. And thirdly, I also want to talk about the African continent and the recent development in the French colonies countries. So we know too well that in Burkina Faso, for a time being, that the French soldiers are no longer there. They've been kicked out. In Mali, they've been kicked out. In Senegal, they've asked them to move out from Senegal. And recently in Chad, they've also kicked them out. And in this 2025, we're also seeing that in Ivory Coast, the president of Ivory Coast has also asked them to move out. So there is this general change, a new breeze, coming into the African continent, the leaders coming into the senses, deciding, at least for the first time, for the benefit and good of their own people. Unlike before, where the puppeteers will always tell their puppet, do this, do that, and that it is. And we've seen that for a long time, Africa has been very impoverished by these particular Western powers who believe that the resources of Africa are for the strategic importance of their own country. So whatever we think, whatever we want to do, whatever our ideas, those things never matter. And you've been able to see that a whole lot of things, development like companies, industries, these things don't come to pass. Why? Because they don't want them to happen. We trade more with the Western countries, America, Britain, and other countries, more than we trade with our own neighboring African countries. All of these things are not just a coincidence. There are policies that are being made by the Western, by the globalists, to keep Africa perpetually where they are. But I think for the time being, the change is really setting in. Presently now in Ghana, we have a new president. You listen to his speech, he talks about the G7 and the BRICS nations, where obviously the BRICS nations are having a lead in terms of economic development and every other change. And we've been able to see Russia being a cardinal position in the BRICS nation. In spite of the war, never affected them that much. They're still top almost of these G nations in terms of their economy. So it is obvious, we don't need to be told, that Ghana are likely going to tour to the part of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and so Senegal, Ivory Coast, and so on. And if that happens, that is going to be a great win for Africa nation, Africa continent. It's going to be a very powerful one. And we look for that the other African countries, our leaders, should be able to come into play to be able to do the needful, decisive decisions that will change the life of their citizens, that make policies, implement them, that will be able to orchestrate the resources, the growth to take place as much as they can. And if this should happen, believe me, Africa is going to take a new turn. Probably this 2025, I believe these things are going to be. But don't not forget that the analysis as to the worst nation leaders in the world is never correct, and it can never be correct. They can't just say anything and we take them for what they say. Today, I give them a new one. Thank you and have a nice time.